Hello, this is Tracy. For decades, I have studied the principles of success, achievement, and personal effectiveness, and I have found that many people believe discipline is a fixed trait, a quality you are either born with or you are not. They see it as a matter of raw willpower, of unbending character, almost as if it were coded into your DNA. But after a lifetime of work and observing thousands of the world's most successful individuals, I can tell you with absolute certainty that this is not true. Discipline is not a talent you possess. It is a skill you develop, a muscle you train. And like any muscle, it can weaken when neglected. Have you ever felt that you used to be more in control, more focused, more driven, but somewhere along the way, that fire simply went out? You are not weak for having lost your discipline. You are human. We all face setbacks. We all fall into periods of fatigue. And we all get distracted by the constant noise of a world that rewards instant gratification and punishes long-term commitment. The critical distinction, however, lies in what you do next. If you do not reclaim your discipline in time, you risk becoming a person who lives with great intention but zero execution, someone who knows exactly what they want but remains frozen in place. This is one of the most tragic ways to surrender, to give up not from ignorance, but from a paralysis of action, armed with knowledge but devoid of movement. In this message today, I want to remind you that your discipline can be rebuilt from the ground up, no matter how long it has been dormant. It doesn't matter how many times you have fallen off track, or how deep the ruts of your current routine have become. You can reclaim your focus, your drive, and your self-respect. When you do, your life will stop moving in circles and will finally begin to advance with purpose and power. This process of recovery is not about finding a magic bullet, but about implementing a proven strategy, step by step, to become the architect of your own character once more. The first and most crucial step to recovering your discipline is not to start a new, punishing routine. It is not to download the latest productivity app, or to write another list of ambitious goals, or to binge-watch motivational videos hoping for a temporary high. The first step is deeper, more uncomfortable, and far more real. It is to acknowledge, with brutal and unflinching honesty, the exact moment you lost your way. You must become a detective in your own life, investigating the scene of the crime against your own potential. The loss of discipline rarely happens in a sudden, dramatic explosion. It is a quiet, insidious process, a series of small, daily negotiations with yourself where you say, just for today, or it won't matter this one time. These seemingly harmless compromises repeat until they form a new habit, a silent surrender disguised as flexibility. At first, it feels liberating, a relief from the pressure of your own standards. But over time, this lack of structure, this subtle self-abandonment, begins to erode the very foundation of your confidence. This erosion deforms your identity at its core. When you consistently fail to do what you said you would do, you begin to see yourself as someone who doesn't follow through. You may not say it out loud, you may not even consciously admit it, but you feel it. It becomes a heavy weight on your chest when you wake up without a clear direction, a nagging buzz in your mind when you avoid looking at your to-do list, and a flicker of shame in your eyes when you look at yourself in the mirror, knowing you are living beneath your potential. This is not just about a few lost habits. It is about a weakened sense of self-respect. Discipline is not merely about forcing yourself to do difficult things. It is the ultimate act of honoring yourself. It is about keeping the promises you make to the most important person in your life, you. When you cease to do this, it no longer matters how many goals you write down on paper. None of them will truly ignite a fire within you, because a belief in your own ability to achieve them has been compromised. Therefore, the first thing you must do is not to organize your calendar, but to pause and look at yourself squarely. You must admit that you have failed, not with the intention of self-flagellation, but with a sense of profound responsibility. The purpose is not to punish yourself, but to awaken yourself. A truth that doesn't hurt you cannot change you. You must ask yourself, without masks or excuses, when was the last time I truly kept my word to myself? When was the last time I said, I'm going to do this, and then I did it without negotiation or delay? If you cannot remember, then you have found the origin of the problem. It is not a lack of time. It is not laziness in conventional sense. It is a loss of your personal integrity, the devaluation of your own word. Recovering your discipline begins with a solemn act of recovering your word. This requires no special talent or physical strength. It requires a renewed commitment to what you say. It means that every promise you make to yourself, no matter how small, becomes an unbreakable law. If you say you are going to wake up at 6 a.m., you get up at 6 a.m. If you say you are going to exercise today, you exercise. If you promise yourself you will let go of a specific excuse, you release it completely. It does not matter if it is uncomfortable. It does not matter if it is difficult. Each time you follow through, you are rebuilding your identity brick by brick. You are sending a powerful message to your subconscious mind. I am coming back. And you can come back even if you have failed 1,000 times before. You can, but only if you decide to begin with one single thing. One promise, one act, one step. From there, everything begins to change, because a person who keeps their word to themselves is a person who gets back up, and the one who rises with discipline, even from the floor, is no longer the same person. They are new, someone who has remembered that discipline is not lost forever. It is trained, rebuilt, and reconquered, one promise at a time. The second fundamental step in reclaiming your discipline is to shatter the fantasy of constant motivation. So many people wait to feel inspired before they take action. They wait for the perfect day when they will wake up bursting with energy, when their mind will be sharp and focused, and when all the stars in their external world will align to support their efforts. But let me tell you, that day almost never arrives. Life does not adapt to your intentions, it adapts to your actions. If you condition your discipline on the fleeting presence of motivation, you have effectively surrendered control of your life to something as volatile and unpredictable as your daily mood. This turns you into a passive spectator in your own story, a ship without a rudder, tossed about by the changing tides of emotion. You must understand this with absolute clarity. True, lasting discipline is not born from emotion. It is born from commitment. It is born from the conscious decision to do what you must do, long after the feeling you had when you made that decision has passed. If you only act when it is convenient or when you feel good, you will never sustain anything of value. Your progress will be measured in days or weeks, not in months or years. The real breakthroughs in life, the moments that define your character and shape your destiny, do not happen when you are inspired. They happen when you are tired, when you are frustrated, when you are distracted, and you still get up and do the work. It is in those moments of internal resistance that the line is drawn between the person who merely tries and the person who ultimately achieves. Motivation is a wonderful gift, a powerful tailwind, but it cannot be the engine of your success. The engine must be a firm, unshakable decision rooted in a crystal-clear image of the person you intend to become, and a list of the things you will no longer tolerate from yourself. You are not just fighting for a new habit, you are fighting for your character, for your self-respect, for your very identity. You are training your nervous system to obey your conscious will, not your transient feelings. When you can master yourself in the absence of emotional drive, you can master anything. So today, stop searching for the feeling of motivation. Stop waiting for the ideal moment. Instead, seek out the difficult task. Lean into the silence that follows an excuse you have just dismissed. Embrace the discomfort of doing what needs to be done right now. One single action, one deliberate gesture, one conscious decision taken in a state of low inspiration is more valuable than 100 motivational videos because it is real. That single action retrains your brain. It sends an unequivocal message to your mind. Here, the decision is in charge, not the mood. When you repeat this behavior day after day, no matter how small the action, you begin a profound transformation. You start to walk with more certainty. You begin to build real, tangible momentum, and that momentum, over time, converts into strength, structure, and solid, dependable discipline. This happens not because you magically became a different person, but because you finally stopped waiting for ideal conditions and decided to move forward with what you had. That small, silent, uncomfortable decision is precisely what will give you back control of your life, because he who ceases to obey his emotions begins to command his destiny. The third step to reclaiming your discipline is to understand and harness the incredible power of accumulated momentum. When you have spent a significant amount of time failing, procrastinating, and breaking the promises you have made to yourself, it is easy to fall into the trap of thinking that you have lost all of your strength. You might believe that there is nothing left in the tank, that you must begin the arduous journey of rebuilding from absolute zero. But this is a fundamentally flawed perspective. It is not true. Inside you, there is still fire. There is still a memory of your strength, a muscular memory, an emotional memory, a memory of past struggles and victories. This inner power is not gone. It is merely dormant, smothered by the suffocating blanket of a negative routine and silenced by the persistent whisper of guilt. To reawaken this dormant power, you need one critical element: the accumulation of small, undeniable victories. This is not about trying to do everything you once did, all at once. It is not about resurrecting a perfect, complex routine overnight. That approach is a surefire path to failure, because a mind that has been weakened by inactivity will crack under the pressure of giant expectations. However, the mind is also incredibly malleable. It can be retrained, reshaped, and strengthened. The most effective way to do this is not with grand, intimidating goals, but with small, repeated, non-negotiable actions. These can be things so simple they almost seem trivial: making your bed with military precision the moment you get out of it, walking for 15 minutes every single day without fail, writing for just 10 minutes, eating one meal without the distraction of a screen, or drinking a glass of water immediately upon waking. These actions may seem minimal, but their power lies in their consistency. Each time you complete one of these small, promised tasks, you are sending a powerful signal to your mind: I am coming back. I am in control. When you do something every single day, without fail and without excuse, you begin to regain authority over yourself. You start to see yourself once again as a person who follows through, who moves with purpose, who has direction. And then a remarkable thing happens. The tasks that once seemed impossible begin to feel natural. Your body starts to align with your new intentions. Your energy levels begin to rise. Your willpower, which you thought was gone, reawakens. This is because you are not forcing change from the outside in with brute force and rigid demands. You are cultivating it from the inside out, step by step, without hurry and without noise, but with unshakable firmness. So many people want to change in a single leap. They want to go from 0 to 100 in an instant. They want to become the person they were at their absolute peak. But this is a dangerous trap. That strong, disciplined person you remember was not born from a single jump. They were forged through hundreds of small, daily decisions, the very same decisions you must now begin to practice again. You are not doing this to replicate the past. You are doing it to build a new version of yourself, one that is more mature, more conscious, and more unbreakable than before. If today you accomplish just one thing with discipline, just one, but you do it with full intention, with presence, and with excellence, then today you have already won. What builds true, lasting momentum is not the quantity of your actions, but their repetition and their coherence. It is a will to do something simple every single day until that simple act becomes an inseparable part of your identity. When that happens, you will no longer need motivation. You will no longer need external pressure. You will simply act because you will have become a different person, a person who does not just try to have discipline, but who embodies it because you decided, in the darkest moment of your relapse, to start walking again, and you did not stop. You now know that small momentum is a seed of gigantic change. The fourth step in rebuilding your discipline is to consciously and deliberately reconstruct your environment. You can possess all the willpower in the world, but if you are forced to wage a war against your surroundings every single day, your system will eventually collapse. This is not because you are weak. It is because, over the long term, the environment almost always wins. Your environment does not shout its influence, it whispers. It does not push you, it subtly seduces you. And if you do not take control of it, it will control you. Your environment can either be your greatest support system or your most insidious, invisible cage. Think about this for a moment. What is the very first thing you see when you wake up in the morning? What notifications are waiting on your phone? What is on your desk right now? What food is in your kitchen? What kind of conversations do you engage in every day? What type of content do you consume? And perhaps most importantly, who are the people in your life who validate your laziness? Who makes you feel that it is perfectly acceptable to fail just one more time? All of these elements constitute your environment, and if that environment is not perfectly aligned with the disciplined version of yourself you are trying to build, then it does not matter how hard you try in moments of inspiration. Sooner or later, you will fall back into old patterns because you will be fighting a solo battle on enemy territory. You must conduct a strategic purge of your surroundings. Remove from your sight anything that weakens your focus. Uninstall the applications that steal hours of your life. Mute the sources of noise that do not contribute to your growth. Organize your physical space so that it becomes a constant, visual reminder of the person you are committed to becoming. A clean desk invites clear thought. A kitchen stocked with healthy food makes healthy choices easy. A bedroom designed for rest, not entertainment, promotes restorative sleep. And above all, you must curate your social circle. Surround yourself, even if only digitally at first, with people who elevate you, people who live a way you want to live, people who wake up early, who train their bodies, who produce valuable work, and who speak with strength and purpose. The standard of your environment inevitably defines your own standard. If everyone around you is living on autopilot, you will eventually drift into that state as well, even if you don't notice it happening. This is not about becoming antisocial or arrogant. It is about becoming ruthlessly intentional. When you lose your discipline, you also lose your clarity, and a chaotic environment preys on that lack of clarity. It pushes you toward what is easy, what is comfortable, what anesthetizes the pain of underachievement. But you are not looking for comfort. You are looking for fire, for structure, for strength. That is not born in chaos. It is born on prepared ground. Take action today. Change one thing in your environment right now. Tidy your workspace. Write down your new rules of engagement with technology. Redefine with whom you speak and about what. Turn off the noise and become the architect of your surroundings. If you wait to feel disciplined while living in a setting that contradicts that very ambition, you are playing a game with loaded dice against you. But if you align your environment with your purpose, then every object, every habit, and every person becomes an ally, an invisible push that supports you when you falter, and a silent reminder that yes, you can do this. The environment you design today is a habit you will sustain tomorrow. The fifth step to reclaiming your discipline is one that is almost never mentioned, yet it is often the single element that determines the difference between trying again for the umpteenth time and making a true, lasting comeback. You must forgive yourself. Yes, you must forgive yourself for having failed, for having abandoned your goals, for having promised yourself things and not followed through. Forgive yourself for regressing, for lying to yourself, and for leaving your own development waiting on the sidelines while you attended to everything and everyone else. As long as you refuse to grant yourself this pardon, you will continue to carry the crushing weight of guilt on your shoulders, and no one can build a life of discipline with a broken back. No one can advance with their gaze fixed on the ground in shame. No one can commit to a brighter future if they are emotionally chained to the failures of the past. Many people, particularly ambitious men, believe that they need a dose of self-loathing to fuel their change. They think they need to speak to themselves with harshness, to punish themselves mentally, to fill their minds with reproaches in order to finally wake up. But this is not discipline. This is self-inflicted violence. And violence against oneself does not build character. It only perpetuates shame. And shame is not a motivator. It is a paralytic. It makes you feel unworthy of success. It makes you doubt your every move. It makes you ask, every time you stumble, why even bother trying? I always give up in the end. That question, repeated in the silence of your mind, eventually undermines all your willpower, not because you lack strength, but because you have forgotten that you are worthy of a second chance. And you are worthy. You are not worthy because of your past achievements, or your current performance, or because you have proven anything to anyone. You are worthy of a fresh start simply because you are still here. The fact that you are engaging with this message, that something inside you is stirring, that part of you still wants to rise, is all the proof you need. That is enough. You do not need to be perfect to begin again. You only need to be decided. You need to put down the internal whip and start building from a healthier place, a place of self-respect. And respecting yourself means being able to say, I failed, but I refuse to be defined by that failure. It means treating yourself the way you would treat a good friend who has fallen on hard times, with truth, yes, but also with compassion and encouragement. Forgiving yourself is not about abandoning responsibility. It is about embracing it from a new, more powerful position. It is saying, yes, it was my fault, but I can also be the one who repairs the damage. If you do not heal the relationship you have with yourself, every new attempt at discipline will become a disguised form of punishment. You will follow routines with resentment. You will wake up early with anger. You will eat healthy food with a sense of guilt over past indulgences. And nothing that is born from that negative energy can ever be sustained. What is sustained is born from commitment, not from self-contempt. So today, take a pause. Look back with clarity, acknowledge your mistakes, accept your pain, and then let it go. Write it down if you need to. Say it out loud. I forgive myself, not for what I did in the past, but because of what I am choosing to build today. From that point forward, you can walk with greater strength, because a man who forgives himself sets himself free. And the man who is free no longer builds from a place of pressure, but from a place of pure intention. That clean, firm, renewed intention is the most fertile ground for your discipline to grow back stronger than ever. The sixth step in your journey to reclaim discipline is to fundamentally redefine your relationship with progress. If you have a history of failing, of starting strong and then falling back into old habits time and time again, your mind has likely lost its trust in you. Without that internal trust, every new attempt feels fragile and hollow, as if you are merely playing out a familiar script that is destined to end in failure. You become someone who takes action, yes, but you do so with a deep-seated skepticism, with that quiet inner voice whispering, "Let's see how long this lasts this time." This belief system is one of the greatest saboteurs of change. It is the insidious idea that progress is only valuable if it is fast, visible, and constant. But real progress, the kind that truly transforms a person from the inside out, almost never looks like that. True progress is irregular. It is sometimes silent and invisible to the outside world. It is often frustrating and painfully slow. But that does not make it any less valuable. It makes it more real. You are not in a race against anyone else. You are meticulously reconstructing an internal structure that has collapsed. You are retraining a muscle that is atrophied every time you betrayed your own word. That kind of repair work is not accomplished with speed. It is accomplished with humble consistency, with small steps, with acceptance, with patience, and with a new, more mature perspective on yourself. You must adopt a new inner dialogue that says, "I am moving forward, even if no one else can see it." You have to stop measuring your self-worth by the pace of your advancement. If every day you judge your effort against the impossibly high standard of a hypothetical perfect self, you will never feel like you are doing enough. And when you feel you are not enough, you will once again sabotage your own efforts. You will demand more of yourself than you can possibly sustain, and you will give up not because you are incapable, but because you failed to meet an impossible expectation that you impose upon yourself. But if you can change that, if you can decide that every single step forward, no matter how minuscule, is a victory, then something profound shifts within you. A light turns on. You begin to see yourself not as someone who should already be further along, but as someone who, despite everything, is still here, still fighting, still walking. And that person, the one who keeps walking even after losing their way 1,000 times, is infinitely stronger than the person who has never failed. They are stronger because they have had to rebuild themselves with the broken pieces of their past. They have had to forgive themselves, get back up, and return to the starting line. They have had to swallow their pride and accept that true progress is not always seen, but it is always felt. It is felt in the quiet calm that comes with consistency, in the growing clarity of mind, in the silent firmness of someone who no longer needs external validation to know they are on the right path. So today, look at yourself through a new lens, not one of an unforgiving judge, but one of a supportive coach. If you are here, if you are starting again, if you are doing what you can with what you have, then you are already winning. You are winning not because you are perfect, but because you did not give up. And that decision, as small as it may seem, is irrefutable proof that your discipline never died. It was simply waiting for you to stop punishing yourself and start supporting yourself like a man who has finally learned to respect his own journey. The seventh step to regaining your discipline is to accept, once and for all, that no one is coming to save you. There will be no magical mentor who appears at your doorstep, no perfect moment that descends from the heavens, no divine sign that tells you, now is the time. That moment will never arrive, because discipline cannot be inherited. It cannot be purchased, and it cannot be transferred from one person to another. It must be built, and it is built in solitude. It is forged in the darkness of an early morning when no one is there to applaud you. It is constructed in the precise moment when you could hit the snooze button, but you choose to rise instead. It is built when you cancel your most comfortable excuse of the day and you do what you said you were going to do, even when there are no witnesses, no immediate results, and absolutely no desire to do it. There is a hard truth that very few people are willing to accept. Self-discipline is the most radical act of self-responsibility. It implies a complete cessation of blame. You stop blaming your past, your upbringing, your partner, the economy, your boss, the weather, or the energy of the day. It means looking at your life in its entirety and declaring, everything I've failed to achieve up to this point has been, in large part, my responsibility. Yes, that stings. It leaves you naked, with no excuses to hide behind. But it also liberates you, because if you are the source of the problem, then you are also the source of the solution. If you are the solution, then every single minute that passes without you taking action is a choice. It is your choice, not the universe's, not anyone else's. Yours. The disciplined man is not the one with the most time, the most energy, or the most talent. He is the one who simply got fed up with betraying himself. He is the one who grew tired of living with the low-grade hum of guilt. He is the one who stopped making justifications and decided enough is enough. He is the one who understands that if the world will not do it for him, he will do it for himself. If no one else is going to push him, he will push himself. If there is no external support system, he will become his own support. This does not make him selfish. It makes him sovereign. The man who learns to hold himself accountable in his grayest days will never again be dependent on external motivation. He generates his own. Ask yourself today, how much longer are you going to wait for someone else to give you a push? How many more times are you going to say that something is impossible before you admit that you are not truly trying? Because it is possible, but it comes with a price. The price is discomfort, repetition, fatigue, silence, and consistency in the face of delayed results. But all of that is temporary. What is not temporary is the unshakable confidence you build when you consistently do the hard things without any need for applause. Today can be the day you assume absolute control of your life, not from a place of fantasy, but from a place of real, functional discipline. That discipline begins the moment you stop looking for saviors and you start becoming the man who, no matter what happens, gets up and acts. Because if you will not do it for you, nobody will. And that, far from being a tragedy, is your greatest opportunity, your clearest signal, and your final callback to action. The 8th step to reclaiming your discipline is to understand that your true enemy is not fatigue or laziness or even a lack of time. Your true enemy is a lack of focus. A man without focus can have all the motivation in the world, all the best tools, and all the available resources, and he will still fail. Why? Because his energy is scattered. His mind jumps from one goal to another without ever bringing one to completion. He starts 1,000 projects and finishes none. He lives in a state of constant reaction, not purposeful action. Discipline cannot survive in a state of mental clutter. It requires a clear, unwavering direction. It needs a brutally defined objective that functions as an anchor, as a filter, and as a guide for all your decisions. You must ask yourself a series of clarifying questions. What do I really want? What single achievement, if I accomplish it, would have the greatest positive impact on my life? What am I willing to sustain through fatigue, through doubt, and through resistant environment? What is the one goal so important that it would make me put down my phone, turn off all distractions, and return to center? If you do not know the answer to that, if you do not have a why that is strong enough, then every how becomes a burden. Every new habit feels like a chore. Every attempt at discipline dilutes and dissolves into nothing, and you fall back into your old ways, not because you are incapable, but because you do not know what you are fighting for. The human mind needs a single, powerful direction. It needs a reason so clear that every time you feel the temptation to give up, that reason screams in your ear, "Do not stop now." Focus is not about doing less. It is about choosing better. It is about having the courage to say no to everything that does not contribute to your primary objective. It is about creating a life that is minimalist in its internal structure, less noise, fewer trivial decisions, fewer open paths, and more profound commitment to the one path that truly matters. The path that, if you stay on it, will change you forever. Do you know why it is so difficult for you to maintain discipline? It is because you have too many doors open. Every day presents you with a new set of choices from among 20 different options. You have not yet made the hard decision to close the doors to the unnecessary, and as long as those doors remain open, your energy will continue to leak out. You will continue to feel exhausted, not because of what you are doing, but because of all the things you start and never finish. Nothing is more draining than effort without direction. Take a pause today. Conduct an audit of your commitments. Erase tasks from your list. Close open loops. Eliminate goals that are not truly yours, goals you adopted to impress others or to meet societal expectations. Keep only what is essential, what burns within you, what you would do even if no one paid you, even if no one applauded you. And then, focus. Give your discipline a specific, urgent purpose, not a general one. The man who has a crystal clear, urgent goal will always find a way. The man who does not will always find an excuse. Reclaiming your discipline is not a matter of brute force. It is a matter of surgical focus. When you have it, everything else falls into order. Motivation appears, energy returns, and action becomes lighter. You no longer need to fight with yourself. You simply flow, because every step you take is a clear place where it belongs. That, more than any other technique, is what will make you unstoppable. The ninth step to recovering your discipline is to decisively break with the narrative that it is too late for you. This is a subtle, silent idea that often settles into your mind after numerous failed attempts. It is a quiet voice that whispers to you that your moment has passed, that you have squandered too many opportunities, that you are hopelessly behind your peers, and that if your efforts did not work before, they will not work now. This voice does not shout. It murmurs with a tone of shame, of exhaustion, and of resignation. If you do not actively silence this voice, it will paralyze you. It will turn you into someone who looks forward but walks backward, someone who moves but without faith, someone who acts but with the emergency brake permanently engaged. You must understand something with brutal clarity. It does not matter if you are 25, 35, or 65 years old. Time is not measured by the hands of a clock. It is measured by the power of a decision, and the decision to get up today, even if you have failed 100 times, even if you have lost entire years, even if you are broken and afraid, is the one thing that time cannot take from you. This present moment, this very second, is still yours. And if it is yours, then so is your capacity to return. Discipline is rebuilt from conviction that you are not late for anything. You are at the exact point where you can make a new, more powerful choice. You do not need to be the person you once were. You do not need to recover everything you have lost. You only need to commit to today, to what you have right now, to what you can do with the resources available to you. One step. That is all. And if you repeat that single step tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that, time transforms from an enemy into your greatest ally. The person who acts with a sense of urgency, not from anxiety, but from clarity, begins to compress progress. They start to advance faster. They begin to reclaim what once seemed irrevocably lost. Do not underestimate the power of a firm routine, sustained for just 30 days. Do not underestimate the impact of eliminating a single bad habit for one full week. Do not underestimate how your entire energy can shift when you wake up early for 5 consecutive days without fail. Time is not against you. What sabotages you is a thought that it is too late for you. That thought is a self-imposed sentence, one that you have the power to overturn today. This is not about catching up to anyone else. It is about returning to yourself. It is about reminding yourself that no man is out of time as long as he can still decide. And you can decide. You are here. You are processing this. You are feeling something moving within you. That movement is your signal. Do not ignore it. If you decide today that you will not allow yourself one more excuse, if you decide today that you will not die with the best version of yourself still locked inside, then today becomes the most important day of your life. That is not poetry. It is decision. It is character. It is identity. The man who reclaims his discipline is not remaking his past. He is building a present that, if sustained, will create a future that is impossible to ignore. Because a man who rewrites his story, who remakes himself, who forgives himself, who focuses, and who gets up one more time despite it all, that man has already won, even if the world cannot see it yet. The 10th and final step to recovering your discipline, and arguably the most powerful of all, is to make a pact with yourself. This is a silent, personal, unbreakable commitment. It is not a pact with a specific outcome, or with perfection, or with external validation. It is a pact with a process, with a journey, and with the identity of the person you are choosing to become day after day, when no one is watching, when no one is compelling you, and when everything in your environment is offering you a convenient excuse to surrender. But you choose to continue. The ultimate truth is this: your life will not be transformed by one massive, heroic goal. It will be transformed by a small, daily practice, sustained with honor. And that honor is not for others to see. It is directed toward your own word. Discipline, at its highest level, is not an act of force. It is an act of profound self-respect. It is a practice of demonstrating to yourself, with no need for witnesses, that you can trust yourself. It is proving that you can be your own structure, your own system, your own source of direction. No one is going to give you that. No one can hand you a meaningful life if you are not willing to build it with your own two hands. Every time you procrastinate, every time you get distracted, every time you break a promise you made to yourself, you are not just failing at a task. You are eroding your own spirit. You are teaching your mind that your words are meaningless. You are feeding the weaker version of yourself, and that version, if you allow it to grow, will consume all of your dreams. But there's another version of you. It is inside you right now, dormant, waiting. It is a you that gets up early even when tired, that follows through even when no one is looking, that keeps going even when no one believes. That version does not need inspiration. It only needs a decision. And when you make that solemn pact with yourself, when you say, "I will hold myself to this standard," and then you do it, life responds. Your body responds. Your environment begins to reorganize itself around your new commitment. Your gaze becomes different. Your energy changes. You are no longer dependent on external factors. You are now walking with an internal compass. That, my friend, makes you indestructible. You may not see the full results in a week. Perhaps no one will notice a change in a month. But if you sustain that pact, in 6 months, your life will be completely different. Not through magic, but through repetition, through character, and through integrity. When a man walks with discipline, his destiny ceases to be a mere possibility and becomes an inevitable consequence. So make that pact today, not with fear, but with power. Say to yourself, "From this day forward, I no longer abandon myself." And if you fail tomorrow, you wake up the next day and you repeat the pact. If you fall, you get back up with that same commitment in your heart, because true discipline is not linear. It is fierce, it is committed, it is imperfect, but it is constant. And when you arrive at that version of yourself, you will not need any more motivation. You will look back at everything you overcame, and you will say, "It was not easy, but I did it." And that accomplishment, that hard-won integrity, will be the foundation for everything that comes next. We have covered the essential steps to reclaiming the power in your life, the need for brutal honesty, for acting without motivation, for building unstoppable momentum, for designing an environment of success, for the radical act of self-forgiveness, and for making an unbreakable pact with yourself. If these ideas have resonated with you, if you felt a spark of recognition, then do yourself a favor and subscribe to this channel for more principles on achieving your full potential. Like this video to help others find it, and most importantly, share it with one person who you know needs to hear this message today. In the comments below, I want you to make a declaration to yourself and to the world. Write, "My word to myself is now law." Remember, the future belongs to the disciplined, so go out there and claim what is rightfully yours.